Hello everyone, it's Amber, your superhero stylist. Today is January 15th, 2009, and I'm talking about Hatter M, The Looking Glass Wars, Volume 1. This is a great treat that I had the pleasure of reading recently. It's created by Frank Beddor and co-written with Liz Cavalier, and the artwork is by Ben Templesmith, who you probably know from Welcome to Hoxford and 30 Days of Night. So get your shrooms ready. We're going to go through the rabbit holes. I take you on a quick journey. Well, hopefully quick. We'll see how this goes. It actually is a collection of issues 1 through 4 of the original comic book series. And, of course, it's based on the Lewis Carroll legendary tale, Alice in Wonderland. So this is not the tale that you're familiar with. This is not Alice getting ported into Wonderland. Instead, it's the opposite. She is Princess Alice Hart. She's the daughter of Queen Genevieve Hart, and they live in Wonderland. And the princess gets sent to our world in order for her to be safe. So it's for her own protection, because the queen's sister, Red, is on a rampage. She wants to take over the throne, and she wants to be queen of Wonderland. So the queen sends her best bodyguard, Hatter Madigan, to protect Alice in this journey. But of course, they get separated as they're porting. And Volume 1 is all about his tenacious tracking of her through our world, which is, to him, very strange. So instead of the story focusing on Alice being in a strange world, it's actually focusing on the Hatter in a strange world. So in Wonderland, imagination is tangible. There's black imagination and white imagination. And of course, black is evil and white is good. And they actually can abuse it. It can be like a drug. And since the story focuses on the Mad Hatter, that's what I will primarily tell you about. He is part of the Royal Millinery, which is the bodyguard of the Hart Army. And their tools of the trade are blades of all kinds. So his top hat actually can be flattened, and it becomes this, whirling, decapitating device. He's also got devices on his back and swords that seem to come from everywhere. Now, the book is supposed to be the culmination of not just the story, the comic book story, but notes from the Hatter M Institute for Paranormal Travel. So you get a lot of insight into how on earth are these blades never ending, like a typical action movie where the bullets never run out, the blades never run out, and you get insight into that right in the appendix, which is really interesting. The Wonderland characters, of course they're in it. They're, like I said, they're not going to be what you expect. And besides the Wonderland characters, as the Hatter is wandering through our world, he also bumps into none other than Jules Verne. So that's a great literary Easter egg for fiction fans. And I want to talk to you about Templesmith's art, because it's so unusual, and it's really fit for the horror genre. Now, he does other things, of course, but he's known for horror. And it was a great matchup getting Templesmith on this series. Once you see his style, you will always be able to identify it. He's got very blurred backgrounds. When things are grotesque, he really exaggerates them appropriately. I think it really stands out in creepy creatures, vampire-like creatures. It's perfect for him. And I actually had the pleasure of asking him a few questions, and his insights, his answers will actually be part of my article at dynamicforces.com, so be sure to check that. You'll get this review in written form, and then you'll get to see his responses. And I also noticed that so much of this seems very steampunk. So I went to the steampunk community, and I asked them, what is it about Alice in Wonderland that is fascinating by steampunk? And I got every kind of answer, everything from, well, the original story was written in, the steam age, the late 1800s, to complex answers like, all of us have lost, a lost child inside that is inquisitive, and, we see the world in different ways than adults. So even very psychologically, you might call them fetish type of answers, like the reason that it's popular with Gothic and Lolita culture is because we find youthfulness to be sexually attractive. Everybody loves youth. But there are actual just hardcore tangible steampunk elements in the story, starting with the top hat. The top hat is not just a hat, but it turns into a weapon. There's a contraption on Hatter Madigan's back And oftentimes you'll see people dressed in steampunk garb. They'll have devices on their backs, but they'll turn into wings because they're also enamored with flying. But here, the device on the back is this whirling device of blades, and you can pull swords out of it. There's also just the whole concept of belonging to the special group that answers to the queen. So you'd be part of a special society if you got to be a hatter. And then there's Temple Smith's distinctive style. It's completely different than the Mad Hatter that you see from DC Comics or from Disney. And I also wanted to mention the lettering. Usually we don't talk about lettering in comics unless it's bad. But here Jason Hanley did a really good job of matching the characters' unique qualities with appropriate lettering choices, even gradients behind the speech bubbles. So I just highly recommend this. As far as the age group, I still say that you can go as young as 8 years old with a book like this. Sure, there's bloody, decapitating violence, but you know what? It's really no different than the sort of violence you get from a Harry Potter book. The difference is that it's visual, but with things like Harry Potter, you have movies, but here, you know, it's right on the pages, and if it scares you, remember, you can just go stick it in the freezer because they can't get you from in there. We're not talking about the sort of violence that are in books like Kick-Ass and Black Summer. Those books are intended for adults. This is a children's story that just has a lot of, graphic, violent fight scenes in it. So, again, I think if you aren't sure and you happen to be on the East Coast, I believe Frank Beddor will be at New York Comic Con, which is in just a few weeks. I believe he will be there Kids Day, which is Sunday. So look him up, look up his information and the panel schedule, and maybe you'll even get a chance to find out more about the Looking Glass Wars. According to his website, this has already been adapted into a screenplay, so hopefully we'll get to see it really soon on the silver screen. There's already an MMO, and that's called Card Soldier Wars. So if you're into gaming, there's an element for you as well. So wrapping it up, I highly recommend it. It's called Hatter M, The Looking Glass Wars Volume 1. And be sure to check out my article at dynamicforces.com. I'll throw up some links to the creators' websites as well. I'm Amber, your superhero stylist. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe to this channel before you log out.